I got the camera.
Probably get to the school dance.
All right, I guess we're gonna get started here. We're gonna, as the Board of Commissioners, we're gonna start our meeting here, and we always do the pledge, and I know you guys do too, but we'll just do it together, and then you can start your meeting however. So we're gonna start. Go ahead.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We do have a prayer also, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight, gathered together to work together to try to do the best for our community. We just thank you and praise your name and praise you for all the wonderful blessings that you've given us. Father, I pray a hedge of protection around our community and each and every family that lives here. Father, stay in this courthouse. Stay here and guide us and direct us even when the old ones leave and the new ones come on board. Stay here, Lord, and guide and direct. Keep us safe, Lord, and help us to do your will. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. She called you all old that are leaving for the record.
All right, you wanna call your?
So at this time, 6:02 PM, Thursday, November 14th, I'll call this meeting to order for the Scott County Council in joint session with the commissioners.
All right. I think it's all your people are here.
Yep, all present and accounted for.
Okay. All right, well, this is a continuation of a meeting we had last week. And because of the commissioners' rules and regulations, while we pin a meeting to be on the agenda is what we can only talk about in a public setting. So we asked for this meeting, and again, we're all together to talk about a situation with your budgets for the sheriff's office and the jail. And I say that because there's multiple budgets to my knowledge, and try to come up with some recommendations to move forward with that. So since this is more of a financial type of thing, I'm gonna let you guys kind of talk about what you're doing, because that's not kind of our forte, and we'll just try to have some input.
I think first I want to make sure Zach had already planned what he was going to say about the ARP funds. Last week, as you know, I represent many municipalities, and I received a bulletin from Buzz Cron, who said that there were new rules affecting the ARP, that we had to actually be under contract by the end of the year. So the renovations, I gave it to Zach and I said, hey, could you check with Bo and their attorney who's doing all the ARP research? And he said, yeah, that's true. We have to have it under contract. So we're not able to do the renovations. We don't have a design plan. We don't have contracts for those. So Judge Mount is aware that we'll have to come up with those other ways, and Zach is looking at other ways to use opioid restricted, unrestricted, other ways to try to finance any renovations we need. Zach didn't seem to think City Hall would need that many because it was in pretty good shape, is my understanding. I haven't been in the building. The city has gotten whatever was the problem with closing.
Yeah, we're set to close, but we don't have an exact date.
Yeah, he said they're ready to close now, and he was trying to get a closing date by the end of the year. So now we sort of have some handcuffs on. Zach and I were both a little irritated that they just handed this down when we're under the gun already. So sort of where we're at is we can't do the renovations coming in. If you look at the new things, Jennifer, the updated things, the sheriff's cars did get paid last time. They were appropriated. They just weren't paid. They've been paid now. So we're sitting at about $1.1 million that we have to figure out how to spend. We need to come out of this meeting tonight. We're going to lose the money if we don't figure out where to put it. So Zach and I were both, when we talked today, we were both adamant we can't sit on our hands. We have to advertise that appropriation. We got to get it done at December meeting. So we really need to figure out what the best way forward is for spending the remaining dollars, and how you want to do that, so that Jennifer can get it advertised and we can do it at the first meeting, knowing that we can't do the $400,000 of renovations now.
I have what I ciphered from all your numbers. It's $1,104,487.21. So.
Yep.
How does the contract
stipulation apply to us giving it to some other entity that we want them to have help?
Well, yeah, it doesn't affect, so like if you were to give it to another entity to do something on their own, we've already appropriated that and given that money. So that wouldn't need to be contracted for.
Okay.
But if we're gonna do something for the county itself or infrastructure, we would have to have it under
So
contract.
that's for us.
Yes, so we don't have any contractors for renovations to this building or the city hall at this point in time, nor do I think Zach and I are confident we could get that done by the end of the year and get it approved through commissioners and councilors and get the resolutions together. So I think we're way behind the ball there, and it's just a product of the federal government. We all know how efficiently it runs, so. But you could give it away to another entity if it, I mean, Zach has done a lot of work, I think, with Bo to identify each and everything that he thinks would be appropriate that's still on the, I guess, the wish list, at the bottom of Jennifer's, first
now.
page of what she gave out. I think all of those have been approved by Zach, for resolution by the commissioners if we choose to go forward with those.
I guess on the financial side of things, Jennifer, do you have the 24 Form 1 that we requested for us to see on Tuesday for the sheriff's budgets?
You know what, I did not pull off the Form 1s, I have the location budgets.
I think we all have one of those. We were hoping to have the, like, Form 1 so we could see the original appropriated amount.
2024 ones?
Yes.
Yes. Should get those.
Alrighty. While we're waiting on those, one topic we ran across in just the last few hours, that you guys, I don't know if you're aware of or not, but the animal shelter needing some additional appropriation was asked last night. We asked to see a copy of that contract just to figure out why it went up so much. We got a copy of it, but there's no signatures at all on the copy that was sent to us. So then we checked today with the recorder's office about it. They don't have a copy on file. So as of right now, I don't know that we have a current signed copy with the animal shelter.
Yeah, I didn't mention that to Zach tonight because obviously he's sick and we wouldn't probably process it, but I don't know how much you guys know about it. I'd never seen it before. It was an interlocal agreement, of course, between the city, since they own the shelter, and the county provides services. So when they asked me about the appropriation, I said, well, I don't know, what does it say? Do we owe the net? Like after donations and adoption fees and stuff, this is what we had left over and had to be paid, what we're paying 50% of that, 50% of the whole, what is it? So I asked for the copy of the interlocal, we found it, they sent it to us, I guess the city did,
I believe so.
unsigned, so I said, well, interlocals are required to be recorded, go, see what the recorded copy says, and it's not there either, so that's gonna be something I'm gonna ask Zach to have you guys take up and maybe try to renegotiate, or make sure we at least have a good one in place and we know what we're supposed to be paying.
Interlocal.
And I guess,
That's always been a situation where the city actually runs the animal shelter, we just fund some of it, so.
Yeah.
so it went up like $38,000 is what they're wanting for this year.
We keep them off the radio, maybe they don't need that much. Never seen anybody talk so much on the radio. And there must be a lot of dogs and cats running around, cause they're on there more than police.
Which, I mean, I think
Not
at some
being
point,
critical.
I think we're gonna have to pay some portion, but we just wanna make sure you guys are aware so that
So you're saying it went up
proper avenues can be, we pay 50%,
so you said it went up 30,000?
38,000.
Well, my concern that I'll also discuss with Zach, Zach gave me permission to, sort of tell you guys anything I wanted to tell you tonight. So my concern is that it says we'll pay 50% of the budgeted amount. Well, let's say they have generally they've had about a $300,000 budget, but let's say they get a $100,000 donation. The people of the county are then paying 50% of the $300,000 rather than $200,000. So to me, that's what I wanted to look at is what that contract was, and then we obviously found other problems with it. So it might be a good, time for Zach to
Yeah.
try to renegotiate and make sure those kind of things are tightened up.
And I don't think that, if we're paying 50%, I think that we need to, the county needs to have a say in what, cause they did all this renovations, and at the time just said, well, we don't know how much it's gonna go up, but you guys it's gonna go up. Well, we have no say in that.
Do we not have somebody on the board? I didn't see in the in the interlocal, I mean, don't you think we should have somebody on the board if we're gonna be giving them half their budget?
We've never had any of that, but I guess my question would be, is that 38,000 half of it?
So it looks like their budget from Gateway went from 298 in 23 to 305 in 24, and it's expected at 312 for 25. So that increase, I think we were at like 120 is what has been. So that would put us at like 158. So it's a little more than what their Gateway budget shows.
And I'll talk to Zach about it. Generally, I mean, you wanna make sure that you're getting the best dollar, right? So if you wanna be part of that budget process with them, I mean, if they're gonna do renovations, I feel like somebody should be on the board from the county. We're paying
Agree with that.
50%, so that might be a good time to
Also agree that if somebody's saying, here's my budget, and we don't
Yeah.
have a say in it, other than here's how much you owe.
Yeah.
I don't like that at all, cause they've never, and I don't know about reaching out to other councils in the past, but, you know, just sending us a bill saying, here's your money, or we need this money is
It
not
was
a,
always just, this is half of it and this is what you owe, so.
Yeah, Floyd County ran
We need to-
into a similar problem a couple of years ago. They now have their own animal shelter, just
We
because
need
it was the same way. Here's our budget, give us, you know, thousands of dollars.
would be different if it was not $300,000,
Right.
so. All right, so on the animal shelter thing,
So it's tabled for now. I think we're gonna have to pay some portion of that by the end of the year.
300,000 in the
No.
past.
let me,
No, our portion was
I'm gonna have a conversation
asking
with
for
Terry tomorrow,
30,000
so let me, just add that to my list.
158,000.
And I'm gonna try, I just tried to send you a copy of that we got from there. I will say it's way before, or it's before any of you guys were commissioners. I don't see any of your all's names on there, so.
Oh,
I
it's
don't know.
long before-
Here's
This
the
this is something
agreement,
that's
passes around.
probably been,
The agreement and the, budget's on the back, I believe, yeah.
Is this
Yeah, I mean, there's,
No,
Oh,
we
I
can't
think the
find a signed
conversation will
copy.
have to come at some point of the, oh, here's
That's the whole.
yeah, here.
the contract that I just sent you.
It's the whole.
yeah.
And then the budget at the
I
back.
got one more. Who needs one?
Let's just see.
I have it on email.
Okay.
You got one more, we're missing one.
Yep,
Well,
He's got it.
you got it?
I can see right off the bat, I mean, some of this was,
It's 2006.
there's Iva Gasway as the county auditor, there's Kelly Newhouser as the city clerk, so that's,
There's a town in Austin, the city now.
Take one down, pass it around.
Yeah.
yeah. So,
It's over.
it's old. There you go. I'll give it, so. all right.
Which, on that one, you just let us know, we can
I'll
pull
talk
it
to
back
him
up
tomorrow, and we need to renegotiate that. Sounds to me like it's 110 years old.
I'll be sure to tell Zach tomorrow when I talk to him that I gave him more work.
more work.
Oh, he don't care. So that's something, just sidebar.
Yeah. That form going out is the Form 1 that we had requested, which is the original budgeted items for the sheriff for 2024. And then those should coincide with the location budget that was given to us on
I didn't get that.
Tuesday.
So this is. Okay. Where I'm at as a commissioner, and if you've watched any of our meetings, I kinda cringe every time we come to the point of approving payroll and have that conversation with Zach about, and Jennifer about, are the funds available to pay the payroll? I mean, in the time I've been a commissioner, I've only not approved the payroll one time. And it was because of a situation I knew was happening with payroll, that I was in contact with State Board of Accounts, and they told me that it was wrong how they were doing it. And I said, until you fix it, I'm not approving the payroll. So it got fixed, but it had to do with the 26 week, how you get paid, and if you're an elected official, you realize that in December, you don't get a check anymore, so. But anyway, it was not being paid correctly, so.
So, I guess going down through these, Jennifer, looking at them, with the forms that you gave us, a location budget, I guess the deputies times 10, the 265,000, this shows 110, this shows $10 from the budget form to the original appropriation. So that's off a little bit, but then 32,000 was transferred out somewhere, so we've spent currently 232,554, right, as of today,
Yes,
or as of Tuesday, I guess.
well, as of Tuesday, yes, cause we did payroll today, but I don't think it'll show up until tomorrow.
And we're not over in that line any, on the deputies line.
On a 2-week average, what's the payroll?
Do you know that?
Yeah, it's on the front page of that packet that you were given,
Is that the Form 1?
no, it's not on the Form 1, hang on.
I have 3, I'll go make more copies though. Just wanna take a look at those.
I've got one here.
That's what we've got to do.
Okay, what I've got is, for the jail, we run
She's gonna make more.
on average $54,018. And for the sheriff's department, is $49,671.
What was the numbers again, I'm sorry?
I'm sorry.
This is what,
Give me the numbers again.
Okay, for the jail, it's $54,018 average. And for the, sheriff, it's $49,671.
Like, where-
That's average, right?
yeah,
Yes,
that's what I'm confused.
and if you kept your packet from Tuesday night, that'll be on that front page.
I get it.
Okay.
when this one's printed?
That was October 17th, that was when we were budgeting.
This is bi-weekly pay.
So I guess my question arises for mostly you, Jennifer, on this one,
No. This is an average of the bi-weekly pay. This is the numbers we were looking at, what we need to shore things up.
so on the 17th, when we were doing budgets and setting things up, you gave us this printout that shows like the deputies times 10 line was negative $50,514, and it's been spent $283,069 at that point. I checked again on the 11th, and it was $78,000 negative is what was showing, and then now it shows that just the 232 has been spent, 32,000 transferred to somewhere else. So I guess my question on that particular line, which is one of the things we tabled for tonight, is how did we go from 265,000 appropriated to showing 283,000 spent, and then now we're back to 232,000 spent?
We've been making adjustments, claim adjustments, if they were paid in the wrong place, or if we could transfer from discretionary funds, we have been able to do that, or make claim adjustments to discretionary funds, we have done that.
So when you say discretionary funds, do you mean, does that mean by law, the, I guess, sheriff has the right to decide how that fund is used, or
Well, either the sheriff or the ordinance, how it's put together.
the ordinance? Okay, and do you have a list of those funds?
I can get you one.
I think we had asked for one on Tuesday. I thought maybe you would have it, but, because from what I can tell from talking to State Board of Accounts, Baker Tilly, and our legal, there's no such thing as true discretionary funds per se, other than a commissary account that's statutorily has requirements to spend. So everything else would be possibly, like you said, with an ordinance of how you spend it, but it would still be controlled by council. So in looking at these numbers given to any citizen, I think it would be hard to ingest that we went from 265,000 to spending more than 78,000 in excess over that to back up, and now we're showing that there's 232 been spent out of that, and then we transferred 32,000 somewhere else.
Well, and I agree, and I'll be honest, I didn't really understand the discretionary funds. I've worked with Teresa on that, and that's what we were talking about, what we could do. And they were not budgeted, as far as, she told me they've not been budgeted in the last 16 years. So we just kind of followed through with what had been done before us. I'm not gonna say, but I have a question. I mean, we paid Baker Tilly upwards of $30,000 last year to look, and they looked at all these funds, and they never mentioned it at that point either.
Do
So
they have access to see
Do
it?
they know about
they,
this?
We don't.
they had access to this, so they were looking at our,
Well, you didn't know about
Files.
the funds, right? You told me, you said you didn't know about them either, so,
I just didn't understand them.
oh, gotcha. Okay, well,
Yeah.
I wanna.
I didn't understand how they work, what they could do.
I like to be precise, so this
Right.
is what I
And I
found.
got an email from Paige after you, contacted her. I have not gotten back with her because I've been spending my time working on this.
Absolutely. Well, I just wanna make sure, cause I like to use the right words. So when you talk about discretionary funds, that's how you spend the funds. So for instance, the auction proceed funds, the commissioners created the fund and didn't give discretion totally over to the sheriff to decide what's to be spent on. It has to be spent on overtime deputies, training, equipment purchases, drug buy money. That's what that fund's for. That doesn't mean you have to have a statute. By statute, everything has to be appropriated unless the statute says otherwise. So in talking with the State Board of Accounts and talking with Baker Tilly, my question came, and I don't know because I don't know what funds we're talking about. So I just
I
asked
can get you a
generally,
list of 'em.
what funds don't have to be appropriated by my client? And they said, the only fund that we can find that the sheriff doesn't have to come to the council and have appropriated, is going to be his commissary, and it's for those enumerated items. That's not even discretionary. Discretionary has to do with use. And the only fund that doesn't have to be appropriated by the body, the fiscal body, is the sheriff's commissary fund. So when you said, when you guys were talking about discretionary funds, that raised to me, what funds are we talking about? As a matter of fact, Paige did ask me, hey, which funds are we talking about? I said, I don't know. What was mentioned to me was the DOC inmate reimbursement
That was one.
fund. And,
I think we
no.
moved institutional supplies into that one.
Well, I think it specifically said DOC, inmate reimbursement fund was one of them, right? And then the auction fund. The auction fund was created but it's not, it still has to be appropriated. The DOC, if there's a DOC and reimbursement fund, which I'm 99% sure that's the exact words that were said, Paige says that has to go to the general fund of the county. So I just wanna make sure that any of these changes were appropriated correctly, since I'm thankful that you guys met and you came up with something, but it raises an issue for me in trying to represent my client and the county to the best of my ability, that I don't know where this money came from. I don't know, it seems to me it had to be appropriated and approved by ordinance. So I'm really afraid that if we don't look at those funds and figure out, do they have to be appropriated, that we could get deemed really bad in an audit. So,
Well, and that was one of the things talking to Teresa, she said, in the last 16 years, the State Board of Accounts has not made a comment on it. So, when they've done audits before, so, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, I'm just
Right.
saying that's been what our history is here.
yeah, I found there's some things, I mean, we've seen in the last year and a half, there's things that probably should have been caught in an audit that weren't caught in other counties. So I just want to be very careful and very mindful of what we're doing. I obviously want, my client wants the people to get paid and compensated. We don't have to pay them, we have to compensate them. Whether that's comp time or whatever, but I do want to make sure that the funds that were moved, obviously, I think what JR's saying is, there's a big difference. So funds were
Right, there
moved
really is.
somehow.
There was,
And
yeah.
we need to know which funds they came from and how they moved, so we made sure that they were appropriately and legally done. Does that make sense?
And I have a question. When you said that you shored up accounts where things were paid out of the wrong, when you said you did claim adjustments?
Yes.
Okay, so are people being paid out of wrong line items?
Some were, yes,
Okay,
some
so
were.
that makes it very difficult for us
Yes.
as a council to look at these numbers, so we've got to, I don't know what has to happen, but going forward, it has got to be shored up where the correct people, the correct departments, the correct, salaries are paid out of the right line
Exactly.
items. I mean, it has to be, because, if we're going to the sheriff and saying you're over budget, but $50,000 of it is not,
Yes.
because it's being paid out of your budget to some other department, we're only going off of the numbers, so that has to be
Well,
fixed.
and part of it last year in the budget, I believe the SRO was actually budgeted in general when it had its own fund, so that got to be a problem there that we've had to correct.
So is that one was showing negative as well, so we had to do some kind of move there?
We moved the money there, yeah,
Where do we move it from on that one?
the SRO line.
Moved it from there to general?
Yeah.
Is where we're
Well,
now going to pay them?
No, what we did is we moved the payroll from general we're paying them out of the SRO line, which that should have been all along.
Okay,
'Cause that's
into
how it
that,
was-
one of those
that's how it
funds.
was-
Should have been.
That's how it was budgeted.
I need to go back and look
We
at
had
that.
our,
'cause I-
we,
It was budgeted out of the general fund, cause we budgeted in a separate line under the
Right.
general fund.
So the portion the county would
Is that
have
right?
paid was
But it
adopted at $45,438 into SRO. So the portion the county would pay was $45,438 is what was adopted in this 24 budget in general, right here, for school resource officers times 3. So then
seems a
that,
little bit high.
and it may be a little high, cause that's probably a conservative number for a salary, but that would mean the other portion, the 180 days the school pays, was in the home rule fund, correct?
That should go back to the general,
All of it?
just the part that they're not working. Because what it is, when we look at that, we look at their payroll and however many hours are designated for, SRO is what we bill the school for.
So
And then
they,
the rest of that we
so I can
bill-
answer that for you. They work 2,080 hours total as a full-time employee. School pays 1,440 of that, and we pay the rest in the county, is how that is budgeted.
We just had a new contract, so I don't know if that,
It's the same, and
Yeah,
I
I'm
haven't
not
seen a
sure.
new change. I know that's off of the last contract we saw.
well, the contract is a 5-year contract, and January 1, that contract was renewed.
Renewed.
So, I know Zach was looking to see what the number was, so,
So you're saying you're getting 1,440 hours per SRO? Because I'm thinking, I think I had 894 on the last, 894 hours, and that was 1/4. So,
So I guess that one, at some point, we need to review the
Might need
contract,
to-
make sure
Well, we've
we're,
also
we're
done an
in.
additional appropriation on that one too, of 26, so it was up at 48,000.
Yeah,
I'll check with Zach again, because he was going to pull that number, so.
yeah, cause we additionally appropriated, give me 1 second, $2,642 to that as well, so it would have took it to 48,000 out of general, which would have been the county's portion, but it shows in this last location budget, it was spent at 66,000. So that's, I mean, I think that's where some of this major
Confusion is coming from.
misnomer and confusion, and as it was explained to me by a citizen that called me upset today, they said it's like going to sleep and waking up to 3 million extra votes. And I can't disagree with them, you know, that's hard to wrap your mind around how every time any of us come together, we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars that are drastically different on one side or the other, and I don't think that's a good look for our county as a whole. So I think we need to
well, and
be
I
able to
wanna
explain
make
this a
this
lot better.
comment. One of the things that I've learned today, or in the last week, when we all sit in a room and work together instead of passing notes and passing things, it works much better to put numbers on there and to understand them.
We've worked well with the auditor's office all year, and we've asked you to come to the table several times and you refuse to do so. So my take is this, we've got the same numbers as the auditor's office does. So if your numbers are different, where are you getting them at? Because you haven't discussed it, because it's the source you're getting.
Well, the auditor, the letter that I'm looking at from the auditor on the additional appropriations said, the last thing says, I show it will take an additional, and this is from October when we were doing
In
budget
budget.
sessions, right? I show that it will take an additional appropriation from all 3 funds, meaning public safety, lit, special purpose, and general, of $745,029 to cover salaries alone. He is under 25% in every line in all his budgets. I will include the location budgets to show you the remaining funds. So that's where some of the confusion comes from, because the location budget she did send shows that.
Okay, I understand that.
And it
What I'm
is
trying to say
just the
is
3
those
funds
changed,
though,
and
when you're
we
looking
were
at those
changing.
3, and that's why all these other funds that I didn't know could be used at different places, and you learn, it makes a difference,
Okay,
so.
That's why I said communication.
So with
absolutely.
what you said today, to get salaries, which is obviously why we're here, would be the 54,000 roughly for jail and 4950 for the road. And you got 2 pay periods that you have to meet left in this year, correct?
Actually 3. There
Yeah,
was
you
one
said
at the end of
Tuesday we have-
November.
Tuesday, you said we have enough to do 1 more, so that leaves 2 that we need to fund. Is that right?
And we found enough, cause what we asked you for Tuesday night was 100 and, I forget, from the general fund,
Yeah.
and we have found that.
So you don't need any money?
not for the sheriff's department and the general fund. Right now, what we need is 300, hold on just a second. 320,000 from the special purpose for the jail for salaries, and 20,000 from the general fund for jail to shore up the utilities.
So for salaries, you just said it's $54,018 roughly, most of the time. Times that by 2 pay periods, that's
I looked at that,
$108,036.
it looks like it's per week.
So is that per week?
I think we times that JR by 4.
It's
They're not 4 pay
it's-
periods
It
left.
says
On that form, it's by 4.
So by 4.
Yeah.
That was for Tuesday night, there were 4 pay periods, cause you had this one.
Okay.
There'll be one in 2 weeks, which is the end of November. There'll be one, I think, December 13th, and then the end of
So
December.
this one's taken care of. You said Tuesday you have enough to do one more in there right now that you're comfortable with. So that only leaves us with 2, right?
No. I said
This
the
is where I'm
one
reading
for
this, but
this
I'm
Friday
reading
was
that as
taken
per
care of.
week. I mean, if that's 54 per pay period,
Yeah.
Yes, that's every
So-
2 weeks, Mike.
Every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks.
What he's asking is, we have 4 pay periods that are left to be paid out, right?
Yes.
Left to
We
be
just
paid
did
out.
one today.
Okay, including today's?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's 3.
that's 3. You said on Tuesday that you had enough to take care of.
One more.
One more.
No, I was meaning the one this week.
For today.
Today. So we have 3.
So
we
we
have
need
There should be 3
clarification.
more.
So now we have 3 to pay.
Okay.
Okay,
All right, I'm with you.
Don't make me do this.
3 to pay at 54,000.
yes.
So for the jail, you're at 54,018. That would be $162,054. And you're asking for 300. Why?
Because it wasn't all salaries, as the money's needed for it, was the.
Well,
You just
that's
said it
what
was
I've
all
gotta
salaries.
advertise, yes. Well, that's the number we came up with.
That's,
And let
I
me
mean, that's
see.
what we were
That's
told, that we were trying to shore up
On
the
the
salaries.
jail only?
That's for the
Was that the one
payroll.
you changed to
Right.
3,000?
At 5418.
Even 4
Yeah,
times
300
54 is
times
not
3.
300,000.
4. So
We're
you're
trying to
saying it's
figure out
down
where
to
They're down to
300.
3 now, cause today
Well,
was
there's
what
also
she
some
said.
monies in there for institutional supplies.
162.50.
But,
Yeah.
but Sharon, what we're just
Not
talking
advertised.
about,
The monies.
we
for
were
salaries
just,
only.
we were just
What?
told that it was for payroll, so
Salaries.
that's what we're trying to figure out right now, is, so she
Cause that was
said
just for
300,000
personal
for
service
payroll.
line. So that
So
would
we're
have just
trying to
been
figure out
salaries,
why
like
there
it
was that
says.
discrepancy
The one
between
that started out
300,000
404.
and
To
100,
162.
whatever the,
Yes,
whatever
that
we
one.
came up with.
And we asked for
Okay.
300,
So let's
286, and
just
he's
do one
asking
thing
why
at a
we didn't
time,
ask for
and then we'll go
162.
from there.
This is the number, Teresa, and I felt like, let me look at mine.
So to clarify, we're to 3 payrolls,
3
Three
payrolls.
payrolls.
Yes.
and we have already enough money to pay the 4th one.
Yeah, we did it
Today's.
today, so that'll leave 3 to
Actually,
go.
that's not true, cause it was 185 on your location budget. So that would go back and cover the one today.
So we still have 3 to cover.
You really have 4, because we gotta go back and get this one. That was in the location budget.
But you clearly said on Tuesday we had enough to do 1 in the
And I-
account.
What's
Probably
54
missed
times
it.
4?
So,
It's about
216.
260,000.
Okay.
200.
Alright, so if we're looking at 4, again, still less than the 300, whatever that you said that we had to come up with. So 4 times 54 is whatever we said, so that's what we're looking at.
I'm confused myself, because the sheriff sat right there, and she was sitting right there, and I said, so he's got enough in his account to pay for one payroll.
That's 4.
That's 4, okay.
And we were told, yes.
yes.
One
And I
full
thought that
payroll.
that was, and I
And what was
misspoke.
in his account existing on whatever day it was, Tuesday, he sat right there.
Okay,
And
so
I
we're
asked
back
the
to
question.
needing 4
Back to needing
payrolls.
4.
So, does everybody see why we get so confused?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're back to
I've
4,
got the, have you got this sheet here?
we've got, so we're back to 4 payrolls. So we need $216,072, is that what, 216 and 72?
I'm gonna ask here, cause I'm for sure, I know my salary was moved there too, because they run out of money in
Out
the
of
business
misdemeanor.
fund. So I don't know if my salary's been shored up or not, I don't know. I know mine got moved in there, because they didn't get enough money out of the misdemeanor fund.
So,
But was any money transferred? Cause his pay in the salary ordinance is, I mean, that's budgeted I'm just trying to understand. So your pay was budgeted out of the misdemeanor fund,
Correct.
but we appropriated,
Oh, maybe some of my pay.
Not all of it.
Not all of it.
Sorry.
I think it was 17, or no, 35. I think it was 35, and we only got like 7, I believe.
$32? No.
Well, on 9/10 of 24, we did a jail commander supplement of $58,395.49. So where did that go? Was that not enough to cover it?
That was to cover part of that and the year before, because we did not catch it in 23, that had run out.
But the year before should have been closed out, right, by September of this year?
Right, but we made an adjustment back.
To where?
What it was, that line was negative, and we
Because
cleared it out.
this went into the 1114 fund, which is the lit public, or special purpose, is where this transfer here, additional appropriation is, for almost $60,000. And it says jail commander supplement.
Hang on, that's the one I got so confused at that meeting that night, cause I said we put it in there and then we took it back out. And I think we ended up transferring that to the,
Well, there's.
So where does that show? And who approved transferring it? Because we didn't vote on any other ones besides transferring it into there.
We didn't take it.
We didn't take it back
the
out,
only one that I'm aware of is we did a claim adjustment on that one.
which means we did.
Well, if we knew we were paying it out of this and that fund runs out, we'll take it back to where, it can be paid, like it's special purpose or whatever.
I mean, I hope you understand the frustration and
I do.
this is like, I mean, we're not talking we're a couple $100s off here. We're talking to transferring thousands of dollars and there's no justification of where it went or how it got there. And then we're wanting hundreds of thousands of dollars more this late in the game when we can't even explain where it's went all this year
I
long.
understand it's
I tell you what you can do is, if you've got a copy of this one that Teresa did,
I don't know if
this is
I have
that
that one.
form, that tells exactly how much is where. That's what we sat down and did.
I just want
Tuesday.
numbers from the auditor because she is the chief financial officer of this county,
And we were
given to
working
this
together.
council.
We was asking for help from you guys too, but that's what I'm trying to say, is why we
I
have
didn't
to.
receive a
So-
request to meet with him.
Oh, that's-
At this point, do we need
Yeah,
to
that's what they need to
fund
look at.
something for payroll, or do we need to set a meeting to talk about this with attorneys and everybody present to get payroll? If it's good, let's not hold all these guys up and let's move on.
I am confident that if we get this 286,
I'm not
That will cover
confident
it.
we're doing
Okay.
that tonight.
Okay.
I don't
I think,
understand why we
I think
need
the intent was to use
300,000.
some of that, the ARP funds to shore up the sheriff while nobody really likes it, and we don't really
We don't get
understand.
any funds
what's
from there.
going funds.
That
Well,
was a political stunt that you guys.
No,
said.
we can't,
Sheriff,
we
don't
cannot,
need
we
Please.
cannot use that 400,000. When Zach and I talked, we both talked about how, we can't use that 400,000 now. If we need it to shore up the sheriff's budget, then we've gotta spend this money by the end of the year. We don't have it under contract, so I think that if money is needed, I think what Zach and I both recommend is to take it out of the ARP funds so that we're not shorting other people of the county. It's obvious. Nobody knows really what the situation is. I'd like to see Teresa's number.
She, right there, if you got the front
That's it.
page.
And Sheriff, I wanna make really clear that I've not had a request to sit down and meet with you from your attorney. I can't communicate and give you
I think
legal
what you
advice
can do is
directly.
do that.
They are willing to meet with you.
No, they weren't.
Yeah, they
I've asked
were.
several times.
I've not had a request, but there's something going on here that nobody can seem to explain, and makes it hard on you guys, makes it hard on him, it makes it hard on my client to understand what it is that we're exactly short, and how a budget that was budgeted at 283 was over by 200,000. We needed 7 or 8, then we were advertised for 9, and now we're back to 0. So I think my client just needs to know, and the commissioners need to know so they can do their resolution, how much is needed to get his salaries through the end of the year. And to keep his cars running, and what it is, bottom line.
300,000.
And it's gotta be done, it needs to be done very expeditiously, because this money has to be, they have to do a resolution at their next meeting. We have to advertise and appropriate at our next
Right.
meeting, whether, not even just for the sheriff, but everything else that we wanna do with this money so we don't lose it.
Jerry, how much did you say?
We need $300,286 in the jail side, and what that does is that covers our salaries, our institutional supplies, and our fuel.
300 what?
Institutional supply,
300,
I need 300, comma, 286, period, 00. $300,286.
So that'll get you payroll and all of your back bills that you have
For the rest-
paid up.
Well, I don't know about, Jennifer, I think about the back bills, I don't know, that gets
The
us to the
bills
end of
have
the year.
already been paid. Everything we've received from the sheriff's department has been paid at this
So
point.
So
we're-
that gets us to the end of the
We're
year.
zeroed out on past bills.
Cause that's not
That's what she's
advertised.
saying.
No.
yes.
Everything you've sent over here has been paid, and it'll show in the papers here on the back, your location budget's on the back, it'll show in those.
And in my lid, which the jail is the one that, I've got 800, almost 900,000 cents. So
Yeah,
all we
and-
gotta do is just, it won't affect the budget or it won't affect.
It's in the
our-
bank account.
I guess my
It's not
question, and I'm not,
budgeted.
I'm not a councilman, so I'm gonna ask a question.
Sure.
Coming in late in the game.
Absolutely.
Huh?
Coming in late in the game.
Well, I've watched
Where's
the game from the
where's
sideline,
the,
but,
I don't see any supplies.
in the,
Under the jail.
in all these special lit and jail, there used to be a jail court, it's changed its
Yes.
name. But in all these funds, are those funds part of the sheriff's budget, or are they
Yes.
separate from
So-
the sheriff's budget?
So the lit special is solely to be used for the jail, and it is budgeted amount on what we bring in every year. So then any additional appropriation or extra monies that you take would go out of that fund's bank account, if you will, and deplenish it, because we bring in right at $1.3 million in lit special every year, and it's budgeted out every year, at 1.299, 1.3, right at. So anything you take out of the bank account is not gonna get replenished, and that is a concern of this board, is whatever you take from there, you're
So,
not
but
getting back.
what, again, if the sheriff, or if the council at the end of the budget cycle says, or your negotiations and says, we're gonna get a sheriff, and this is just a fictitious number, $4.5 million. Here's $4.5 million, but is in that $4.5 million,
Yes, the
those
1.3,
funds?
yes.
Okay.
And then out of lit public, he gets a vast majority of that. And it's also the same way, like that 4.5 number you had, whatever portion of that is available. So we bring in 2.6 million roughly in that. 97,000 goes to the prosecutor, 500,000 goes to 911. Nick got 440,000, so that's about $1 million. So the 1.6 then went into his overall budget, then the rest of it comes from general funds.
So those funds, whatever the balance is, he has the ability to use those in his budget.
Yes,
What we've appropriated.
what would be appropriated, yes.
I was just a question with all the back and forth, I was.
Yeah, and that's how, like,
If that's
that
a-
list of appropriations is what has been done this year on there.
So that's an additional to what he had. on
Yeah,
his
so
budget.
all of this is out of a bank account of this fund going into his budget for the year.
so we have a discrepancy right now between what we have on this paper and what the sheriff says.
I can tell you right now, Randy, to make it simple, it sounds like it's really complex, but if you sit with Teresa, she can explain it to you, Jennifer, they can explain it to you, it's very simple. It's kinda hard to explain it here, because I'm not that type of person that does that, but we don't need any money for the sheriff's office budget, okay? But right now, we need $300,286 out of the lit special purpose budget, that's for the jail. That's the jail budget, we need the 300 out of. And that's what the lit is for, and there's 800 and some $1,000 in there right now. So if we take 300,000, there's still gonna be $500,000 in there. That's what that's for, is for what we're trying to use it for, it's exactly what it is for.
So as of right now, then we don't need ARPA funds to get through.
Now,
And
No.
that's the
That's
first
all I'm
we're
hearing.
hearing of it.
Yeah.
Right now is the first time we've heard that, so.
Well, and we just figured this,
Does that
figured
keep
this
us at
about
the
4
15?
o'clock today.
If
We're
we,
going to on the 100,000.
sorry, if the additional appropriation comes out, the 300,286 out of the special purpose lit, does that leave us at the 15% reserve that the state minimum that they want us to have?
It's at 500 and some thousand.
Yeah.
Plus
It's a
your two more
percentage.
deposits.
We're looking at the percentage, though, not the
Yes.
amount.
Yeah, do you have that,
And I
that
will
sheet that put all
say-
the funds on it?
Because I'll admit when I made a mistake. On May 30th of 24, in the
Somewhere.
lit, special purpose, and also in the lit public safety, when they send you lit, you're given an equal payment all year long for 12 payments. There'll be, and this both ended at, May 30th, an extra payment that picked up what was extra. I didn't realize they did that, and that's one thing Teresa told me to look, so when I went back through the cash ledger, it showed in lit or in lit
Yeah.
public
It has the
safety,
cash reserve.
we picked up
If he spent what he was.
$190,815 more, and that was May 30th,
I don't know.
May 30th. And that did not, in the worksheet that I had that I told you there was like 57,000 left, that did not include that. And then in lit, public safety in the 114, that was 96,305, which it's less than a regular payment, but it was what was extra, and I didn't
So if we
realize it
take
was
that-
in
You
there.
just
missed it.
If
I
we,
missed it, yeah.
if we take that out, then
There's
it's gonna be at a
the
zero.
expenditure total for this.
And then I wanna ask a question here.
Mhm.
You said something about a percentage.
What they're saying is Baker Tilly wants them to keep 15%.
Not
No,
Baker
no,
Tilly,
not
the
Baker
state,
Tilly.
Board of Accounts wants
Okay.
Okay.
15%.
When we had our budget,
15%.
JR told me in my special lit, whenever he got done paying my 2025 budget,
Mhm.
I was only gonna have $12,000 left in there.
Negative, that is in the public safety lit.
I'm saying, public safety.
I'm lit,
Correct.
you
Okay,
know,
I'm sorry, I misspoke here.
but those numbers also provide staying within the budgeted amount, because they're extrapolated based on, so like 2025,
Total budget amount.
when Paige gives the extrapolation for 2025, she starts at the number that we expect to be left in that account. So she extrapolated that there should be, at the beginning of 2025, $729,607 left in public safety lit. So we would be in good shape in that fund if we stayed within the disbursements of, let's see, about 1.3 million in that fund, and we had the 729 starting. But you're saying we have how much in that fund now?
No, we got, I think it's 800, it's almost not. it's
800,000.
800.
So if we take 300 out of it, that number's gonna go down $250,000. And so we're starting with less, and so all of those numbers come up, but it looks like, looking at Paige's number, that you would be fine in that account as far as the 15% SBOA minimum.
Yeah,
Yes.
because there'll be another deposit at the end of this month, is that right?
We'll get one more.
On that fund, which is about, how
I
much?
think when we get this other one, it'll be 887.
So, yeah. so
They
it's
take
gonna
that
be-
into account for the overall, what they expect us to bring in. So
Right,
they take that into account. So when we're talking about the percentage that the
I
state
understand
wanted, that's counted in there. So,
The-
yeah, we have
The
800,000.
lit public safety is where we're gonna be in trouble, so we gotta watch that one, cause it's gonna be a
It
negative.
looks like lit
Yes.
specials,
I
eight
just-
hundred
can I
and
just
thirty-eight thousand
Be really,
dollars.
make sure we're really clear, all you're asking
we've
for,
spent,
we had like
or what was
$900,000
budgeted. We've
advertised for
spent more.
appropriation.
Eight hundred and
You just
thirty-eight
need
thousand more.
300,000,
And I think that
286.
could be a good,
From
I
special.
don't know if that doesn't
and
sound
that's
like
for
a
the
bad
jail
number.
side on
Okay.
it too. That's-
Yes, I get it, but you don't need anything else for anywhere else, and you got the tilt pedal taken care
We
of
got that
Tuesday,
taken
right?
care of.
Done that now.
So, the problem is, Jennifer, is that you advertise this under lit, you advertise 404,948, and that would be fine, we could appropriate the 300,000, cause it's less than what was advertised. However, you advertise that only in personal services, which would be salaries. So if you need institutional supplies, we have to break it out for the advertisement. So we need to know how much is salary, how much is the institutional supply, so that she can put it in this other line item here, re-advertise it, and be good for the next
Actually,
one.
hang on just a minute.
Does that
I
make
think-
sense?
Yeah, I think Mark,
So-
maybe, she may have to pay for it, because they did that today, I'm pretty sure.
Okay,
For the council, based on
actually
this
had-
location budget that was given to us on Tuesday, we've spent $838,964 more than the budgeted amount for 24. If we add the 300 to that, we're $1,139,250 more in that particular fund than was budgeted for 2024.
What fund was that?
Lit special
It's the jail fund.
The jail fund, the lit special.
Oh, I thought you were
Why was
talking
that?
for payroll.
Wait, why was what?
No, that is the total.
Extra $1
Because you gave
million.
me $0, and we didn't spend an extra $1 million. No, you're confused. That's not, no, that's completely wrong.
Sheriff,
Tell
it's
it
coming,
again, Jared.
it's coming from right here, the expenditure total, 2,160,964. That is in lit special purpose. So that's what has been spent, and then here it shows
And again,
budgeted.
that's coming from the reports that we get.
Well, I don't think that's right though, because it's, that's why I tried to tell you, those numbers are different, that's what they fixed.
But that's what we're getting, the
I know that.
problem
That's
is
what
this is what we're getting from the auditor. So
Yes.
this is what, these are the numbers that we're going off of. So you get upset with us.
No, I'm not upset with you
No,
guys.
no, I'm
I
saying-
get the same numbers
Yeah.
from them.
Okay, and does
We know
yours,
how to fix, we know how to operate. We
but
know how to do it.
do you see where it shows that you've according to these numbers, overspent by 800 and some thousand?
No, I
the
don't,
numbers, okay,
because
so what we're
do.
going with is what we get from Jennifer, and that's what we make our decisions on.
Okay,
So
I get
when we get something that says you've overspent by 800,000, we step back and go, well, wait a minute, okay?
But-
So this is where we're at.
Okay, that's
Okay.
good, I understand, but what I'm trying to tell you is this, we speak with Jennifer, we get this stuff straightened out, and you guys don't, that's why you didn't know what was going on. We speak with her on a regular basis, that's how we know. When is the last time, let me ask this question, did she even know that you'd hired Baker Tilly to do the budget this year? Or
We,
your assistants or
we
whatever?
didn't.
Huh?
We didn't hire them to do it.
The Baker Tilly's done nothing with the budget this year.
They got a phone call and they put together this form that they do every single year.
Well, okay, did you tell Jennifer that?
She was sitting
she
there.
I
was
knew
sitting
that
there.
that happened.
She
I
was
didn't
in on
know
the
that,
budget.
like I said, I didn't know Jason Semler was coming on that Friday.
Mhm.
That was scheduled at the same time as my tax sale. There was things like that I didn't know. So yeah,
So-
there are things that I did not know.
I don't
Here's
know what that
basic
has
line
to
on
do with
this.
anything.
We're getting the same numbers you guys are, but we talk with them, we get it straightened out. What is it, you
Okay.
guys are getting numbers and you're not, I'm not knowing what you're doing, I don't know what you're doing, but you're not calling her back saying, you're working with her to get it done. We do that. We talk
Okay.
with her on a daily
So
basis.
Jennifer, do you agree
Yeah, it is.
that 838,964 is roughly the amount we're over in lit special purpose from what was budgeted?
No.
That's probably close.
Okay.
I don't know that I feel totally confident with that number, but yeah,
Okay.
it's over. I understand we're over. I
Okay.
just don't know the.
So then all I was saying is that was where we're at today. If we add 300,000, which is what it is supposed to take to the end of the year, that is a total of $1,139,250 over the budgeted amount for that particular fund.
Well, but.
Is all
here's
I'm
what it's
saying.
not. No, here's not what you're saying. They transferred all the salaries over to lit from the jail, okay, because they didn't have the money to pay for it with that. There's a whole litany of things that were transferred over, so no, that's not accurate, that we're overspent.
Yeah, they're right here.
Money's- But I'm telling you right now, that, you're looking at that, see, that's what I'm telling you. We talk with her on a daily basis, she gives us what it is.
But
That's
Sheriff-
not accurate.
Sheriff, she
She's
just
good-
agreed to it.
She just agreed to it, and she
Okay.
just
Yeah,
handed them to us.
Jennifer, how much money did you take out from the lit special purpose for the jailers, because we moved them all in?
We only moved
Half a million?
403,000. There was an
Okay,
original
good.
appropriation in public safety of 600 something. And by the time April rolled around, we had to pay for the vehicles. We appropriated, we changed that. We took what was left, the 403,000 something, and put that in, we changed it, we reappropriated that to special purpose to pay the jailers there. And then that left an extra 403,000 in public safety. There was an adjustment made so that we could pay for the vehicles.
Right.
So,
Again, there we go. So there's a lot of money's been transferred over, plus. if
So
you remember
let me say
right,
this.
You got to add any money to the jail maintenance line, period.
Okay.
But you had to come back and give $150,000.
Alright, so let me say this. If we're not talking ARPA money, we have paid payroll this week, right? Is what you said, today.
Yes.
Let's schedule a meeting to go over this stuff with the sheriff and not tie these guys up and we get ARPA taken care of, which is what we're here
I
for.
agree.
Thank you. That's what I was actually right.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no
I mean,
point in
you
sitting
need
here to.
300,000.
Yeah, right,
You guys know that you have that.
right.
Now we can move
Yeah.
on to what we need
Figure that out
to,
and we can work with you
to
guys.
figure out what we need to do to
Yes.
shore up the 15% for the keeping our,
And just to make it clear, we do have, it's advertised right now, a $20,000 from the general fund for the jail to finish out the utilities for 2024. That's what we're asking for from the general fund, and that's it.
Okay.
And that was advertised, right?
It's been advertised in, It was general fund under supplies, yes.
So let me ask a question, cause
Yeah, go
again, I'm new to this. You made a statement saying that in a certain line item that it is over, your numbers was over $1 million. That it was over what was budgeted in that line item.
In that fund,
Or
yes.
fund or
Yes,
whatever. But that money that money came out of his budget just from other places and put in that fund, correct?
So it came from some transfers, it came, I think, a multitude of places, is
But I
what
mean,
I would
but
say,
where I'm
but,
getting at is, it didn't come out of another pot outside of his budget. It came out of within his budget
so all of that would be over the budgeted amount
for that line.
for that year.
So you're, again,
It's all outside.
let's go back to the 4.5 million guess number here I'm talking about. If you're saying that his budget was $4.5 million, or I'm saying $4.5 million, and you're saying he spent $5.5 million, correct?
Yes.
But here's the problem. They failed to fund half of the stuff in that line, plus they had to move the officers over into that line. There was $400,000 alone just in the office.
Which was all taken care of in additional appropriations in this year.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, and
That's what I'm
is
saying.
that some of that number he's talking about, that,
So what I did was I took that location budget, went to, so like this one's county general, went to the total expenditure line. That's what was spent. Then you go over here to the budget, the total general, and you would have to add a couple up because there's a couple different things. You would get a total general, and then if this is what the original budget was and this is what we spent, add those, or, you know, subtract or do the math there, come up with a number of either plus or minus, you're over or under on general. You're gonna have to do that on lit public, and you're gonna have to do that on lit special. Then combine all of those, and that's how you would get your 4.5 to know how much he's over on the entire budget. But I have not done that as of yet, cause some of this was just handed to me, but
so I
I will
mean,
do that.
you know, the information was given that, again, I've heard the number of $900,000 over.
And I clarified that Tuesday night, I will say it again, that was me.
Okay.
And what it was, at the end of September, the numbers that we had, and I just looked at the three lines, the lit public safety, the lit special purpose, and the general fund. I looked at what had been spent, I divided that by 9, and then I multiplied it by 3, that number by 3 to finish out the year, just assuming that everything would be the same as it had been before.
Okay.
So that's where that number
It was
came,
a-
that
it
was
was
what
a
was
projection.
advertised. It was, that's why I projected, so. That number was super high, that was me, I told him, you know, we talked
See,
about.
Jennifer told me that today, that's the reason why I said we talked
Yeah.
daily. And here's the thing about it too, is if we had spent all that money out of it, there wouldn't be $1.2 million in that fund today.
So again,
That's reserve.
you're saying that you, in your mind, the budget was over, he spent over his budget.
Yes,
So what, so in your mind, you still believe that?
yes.
Okay.
And
So
I
where did
understand.
where did the money come, if he spent $1 million over, where'd it come from?
So some of that I can't answer because these funds came up just this last week.
Those are the discretionary funds that were not brought to us for appropriations. We have no idea. What I was
Where
told
those
Tuesday
came
when
from.
I asked how it got zeroed out when they were $100,000 over in this account, now they're zero, is that the sheriff and Teresa sat down with Jennifer and did claim adjustments and moved from discretionary funds, which I really think we're gonna have to go over that and see and get those appropriated before the end of the year correctly, and know what those funds are, because if not, we could get dinged.
So on a
So
balance,
we had like, what, 400, and I think you did some, we were trying to figure out exactly what was over budgeted now and take it out of what was extrapolated, and I don't know what that number is, around 500,000, 450,
542,
whatever.
I think is what it was.
And then that's what we were coming up with from October's location budget. It shows the line and what it's overdrawn. You added those numbers up and it came up to around 450,000. Then this week, when we come to our meeting, it's zeroed. It's showing no. So somewhere $400,000 magically appeared out of these
All of
funds
those
that I don't know
budgets,
what they
that's
are.
what was over on that date, if you add up all those highlighted
Well, I
items.
mean, we
Can
So
I,
that's how the overage, yeah.
we have a lot of,
Yes, let's get talking.
Yeah,
we have a lot
But
to
you gotta
work through
understand
tonight.
from the commissioner side of things, we see all these different numbers as well. So,
Yeah.
you know, there's a lot of confusion on our part, and I've looked at, you know, what the sheriff has, I've looked at what auditors, I've seen the things that you presented on those numbers, and for us, it's been confusing as well, so.
Yeah, I think there's
And
a lot
I
of
want to
confusion.
apologize for that, that is, and what they're saying is true, there's things that I've missed, there's things, but JR made a comment Tuesday night, you know, he said, when you're new here, it's like drinking from a fire hose, it's that way for all of us. I came in when most of the rest of you did, I'm learning too. I have not been on this side since, or except, I started in June when Deanna left, we're figuring things out, you know. But if, as long as we can work together, we'll get it figured out, but it's just hard when we're not talking.
But I'm still brain dead here as far as you're saying $1 million that he's over his
In that one line, or in that one budget, so if you look at,
But from the conversations around, money was moved around to compensate for that $1 million.
so what I did was took
Yes.
this location budget that Jennifer printed for us on Tuesday, took that 2 million or whatever it was number, and then deducted the amount that was budgeted. And that's how in that particular fund, the lit special purpose, I'm just saying, from what was budgeted and handed to him January 1, we're roughly, if we do the $300,000, $1 million more than that particular fund,
In that fund.
in that fund.
But you guys, you know, throughout the year have taken money,
We have,
appropriated additional money out of that fund, correct?
Correct,
yes,
So that's, okay.
yes,
Out of the lit fund,
correct, to you all,
to you guys.
well, there's only 1.3 budgeted in there,
correct?
and 450,000 comes out of payment. How would you have to give me $1 million out of that, and there's 500,000 still sitting there?
So,
Well, we didn't
That's what I'm saying.
We didn't appropriate $1 million. Some of what they're saying that has been shored up is from these discretionary funds.
No, JR just said it was $1 million short. If I had to come up with $1 million out of that budget, and there was only 1.2 put in there, and 450 of it is for a jail payment we make every year, and there's $500,000 laying there, where's $1 million at?
so anything that you don't spend every year rolls back to that fund, we agree on that, right? So any money that you don't
Unexpended
spend,
funds
go back to that. So that grows a bank account in there. So then anything that we take above what is budgeted has to come out of that per se bank account. So-
Can you tell me something, can you tell me what was the starting of that in January 1?
I can't, do you know
What
what
was it
the
now?
start of lit public service was January 1, like in that
I
bank?
can go do a cash ledger real quick and find out for you. Give me a
It'd be on
second.
that one sheet that we got,
Yeah.
you know, with the colors on it.
No, that's for.
That would be
budget
for 25. But here's all of the additional appropriations that's been done throughout the
You want the
year.
special purpose, right, Doug?
But that one,
Yes.
that one,
Special purpose.
JR, you brought it Tuesday, there was a 400,000.
Right here, yes, sir.
That was not an appropriation, that was a transfer.
From lit public safety into that.
Yeah, so that
So,
wasn't
like if
appropriation.
you had 500 in your bank and we moved that, that would take it up
Well,
over
yeah.
$1 million.
That went into my salaries, that wasn't, that was,
It was transferred from another
yeah,
line.
I didn't
From
ask
another
for
fund.
From another fund.
Yeah.
I did not ask for
That's
that.
what it was.
Yes.
It was already, it was monies that was budgeted, it was moved from one fund to another fund.
Right, but I'm saying, these other ones were not. That one, yes, it was, and it says so right here, from this one to that one. Same with this $2,600.
I can tell you
From
this
one to
here,
the
make
next.
it, like I said, make it simple. There's over 800 and some thousand dollars, actually 1.2 million as of today in that special purpose.
Yes, but it has to be.
So,
jail.
the math-
Jail.
That is not,
Obviously, there wouldn't be 1.2 million there.
so we're saying unappropriated in the bank account,
Yes, that's what it's as of today.
okay?
Okay, so we're figuring low at 832,000 is what we're figuring low just to be a cushion. There's $832,000 sitting there. Those funds are for the jail operations, that's what it's for.
I agree with you.
For stuff that to do, but you keep saying that we're over our budget and we're not.
So,
Because you gave us $0 for a lot of those items, that's the reason why.
but they were
we had to use
funded,
Extra money.
they were funded.
Yeah, but you're adding that to it, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
So your budget would be set here at whatever, use a round number of $1 million. Then we did additional appropriations, take you up to 1.5. On that location budget that Jennifer printed out, it's 2 million something else.
Well, I don't
You
know
take
what, I don't know what.
that
this-
number.
Only thing I can tell you is that we do it on a daily basis. We
Okay.
do this on a daily basis, so what you're looking at month at a time or whatever, I don't know.
It was
We
just
have to do
printed
some fixes.
Tuesday.
Well, I'm just telling you what we've got.
Well, I'm just telling you, that's how I come up with that, I'm not.
What you
I'm
need
not
to
trying
do is
be-
you need to communicate with Jennifer so you'll know.
Well,
Okay, I can do that, thank you. ARPA.
All right, so you guys are gonna appropriate 300 and,
We don't know.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
so that's covered.
That's covered.
That's covered?
We'll deal with that on another day.
So now we need to figure out what you guys need for your 15%, right? That's the magic number?
Or 15%, yeah, every fund should have 15%.
Which I think
And some
that
of them
one's,
don't.
that
You're
one's gonna
good,
be,
right?
I
Yeah.
think that one's gonna be
Yeah,
fine.
We're good.
Look,
I think we're good on that.
Special purpose.
So we need to
I
know
think-
What
think
you
that-
guys wanna do with the remaining ARPA funds.
you don't
and
need any
We
ARPA
can all
funds.
agree with.
I don't think so. I think the issue, just listening to what's going on,
Yeah, I don't think
is
so.
that there's a misunderstanding that if the money's there, we can spend it, and that's not true. There has to be a balance in there that equals 15%.
Yes.
There were some items that the council chose not to put any money in and appropriate. If the money was wanted, it needed to come appropriate and have a discussion. So we can't just spend money because we request it every year at budget time. It's what's actually appropriated and budgeted. So I think that seems to be where a disconnect is. But I think we're good on with public safety because we will still reach that 15% threshold even with the 300 to 86. We
No,
just
that's
need to,
special.
yeah, special, I'm sorry, what did I say, public safety? We just need to re-advertise it to make sure that we have salaries, and then the institutional supplies, is that the right?
It's fuel and institutional.
Okay, so we just need to make sure when you advertise, you have to put them out in those buckets, so we just need to re-advertise with each additional.
If you look at that, there was money from what special purpose advertised
Yes,
in supplies.
somewhere else
I did not
later.
write a resolution for that the other night.
Okay, well,
So
I
it's something that could
I
be-
assume we'll get everything done before December meeting advertised, yeah, like we usually do, so let's move on to
Alright,
ARP.
so I guess,
So just to,
let's-
just to
yeah.
finish off that, I wanna thank, two former auditors. I know they've come in and spent time with Jennifer to
Really
help, and that's where I think Jennifer was owning up to missing, obviously. a few
Exactly, I
things,
missed
and-
them, yeah.
And so we, I appreciate them coming in, spending their time and trying to help, get some things turned around there, so that's all I wanted to say about that.
All right, so I guess we're to, and speaking with Zach tonight before the meeting, Heather, you were right, he did say that we need to probably appropriate the funds or advertise for the funds to be appropriated so that we meet all the deadlines of advertising. So I would request that you guys appropriate the $1,104,487.21 so that we can at least have it advertised properly and then come up with, where we're gonna spend it, so.
do we have to advertise what it's gonna be
I
spent
think you
on?
have to, yes, you have to, because you guys are gonna have to do a resolution, so we have to figure out what exactly we're going to spend the 1.1 million on.
Well,
And it'll originate there with Zach with a resolution, come to us to appropriate. I mean, you guys already have a bunch of other requests here that have not been looked at.
that's exactly right, well,
And we have the interlocal too, that's still pending out here that we've been tabling because we didn't have this discussion yet.
that's correct, so, I guess I'm gonna go back, and I don't wanna stir the pot here, but I'm going to. When the CARES Act money came to this county, when I first became a commissioner, State Board of Accounts and people in Indianapolis decided that if you drop it all in the general fund, then you can spend it however you want. Well, that happened, and that happened too, but it didn't come through any of the commissioners or to appropriate any of that CARES Act for any specific items. So when speaking with other commissioners around the state, when the ARPA money came, everybody said, create yourself a ordinance that says that the commissioners or yourself are the only ones that can spend the money. We did that. And I'm gonna say in an instance, Washington County did that as well. And Washington County's council chose not to be involved in it whatsoever. So what happens is in Washington County is that when the commissioners deem where they're gonna spend money, whether it's for the sheriff, for any other organization or anything else, once they decide in a meeting that that's where they're gonna send the money, it goes to the auditor and the auditor writes a check. So I know they do that, and that's one particular instance that's a little different than the rest of them. But where I come from, and I've been arguing this since we've had the ARP money, and I'll be more than happy at the end of the year that I don't have to worry about it anymore. But it's always this thought that there's more than three people's decisions to where the money's gonna be spent. And that's where it's always been a head-butting, back alley argument because on one hand, we have a legal document that says we're spending it. And then on another side, you guys say, well, we're not gonna appropriate it. So I'm over the fighting, the arguments and everything else, but I don't understand where we come to you with an interlocal agreement. We come to you a year ago with buying all the chip seal equipment, and you flat just say no. So now all of a sudden you're, saying, oh yeah, we'll help you. I don't understand where all the back and forth of, saying that, well, we'll all come to a decision. It's not everybody's decision. I'm sorry, but there is a reason there's an executive board and a financial board, and you guys can't purchase things, but and I've said this from day one when this money argument started, is that, yes, you appropriate money, but technically, we make the purchases. And so if that's the case, we can just sit here and twiddle our thumbs till we're blue in the face because we're never gonna go anywhere. I mean, if we can't purchase stuff and you approve it, then we're all in, just might as well just pack it up and go on. But yes, there are things that other people have asked money for. Now that we can't spend the 400,000 because we can't get there in time, and that's not anybody's fault, but I guess
Is that the governments for changing things?
well, they changed it, and quite honestly, they clarified it or tried to clarify it or something, but, but there are things that we can spend, whether we argue about that tonight, or we come to our meeting on Tuesday, or next Wednesday, and say, here's where we're gonna write all of our appropriations, or our resolutions for the rest of the money, so. That's my opinion. I'll let these two guys talk, so.
Well, let's get spending.
If I can, I think that's the reason we're here with you tonight, is not to argue, just to say, you three as an executive board do decide how to spend this money. I have to have at least 4 people from this board to agree to appropriate it. And I think we're all here in, good faith to try to sit down and let's say, what would you like to do with it, and what can we stomach with appropriating and go with, and without arguing. I don't think anybody here wants to argue.
And I
We
think
all
our
want.
biggest hangup was the mandate threat from the judge. We got that handled with the purchase of that, and so I think that we're kind of ready to spend, I guess,
Well, I mean, I know the three of us would love to do the interlocal agreement. There was a lot of work done with that. I think, and I think,
Is it ready to go?
It's ready to go.
I think all of us here are conservatives. I mean, I think and even if you're not, you still don't wanna spend more money than you have to for the same bang for your buck. And, when we first started this, I think this equipment was I'm gonna say 720. It's probably over 800,000 if you buy it all.
756.
Well, but that's been some time ago.
Yes.
But there's only one player, and this is why this is, to me, an easy purchase, because there's only one player that sells the stuff. And we've already advertised for it, we've already had a resolution for it, so,
Mr. Jones, can I make a
Sure.
suggestion of how to quickly and expeditiously, since you obviously have to do the resolution and you choose to spend the money. Of course, we don't want it to come over and somebody have an issue and not appropriate it. So that was the purpose of this, is to make sure you would have a consensus on both ends. So why don't you go down what the commissioners would like to spend the remaining ARP funds on? And then we can see if we have a consensus of the council with an agreement that when it gets advertised and it comes to us, the votes are not gonna change. We're agreeing so that we don't, I mean, what I don't want to happen is the commissioners come here and say, this is what we wanna do, we all agree, and then we advertise it, we get to a meeting and somebody gets mad about something or doesn't agree, or something has happened in the interim, and then we lose, you know, that 400,000 or whatever it is on a whim. I think that this has to be it tonight, or we will not meet the deadline, but I think that's the most expeditious way to probably do it, is just
So
see if
before
we have consensus.
So before we can do that, we need to get you guys to do a vote on whether or not the interlocal agreement is gonna pass. Because if the interlocal agreement doesn't pass, it's gonna change what we do with that ARP money. That means we go from 410,000 for chip seal to 756,000 for chip seal.
Right.
well, the other part of this
So
is
that's why
that,
we need you guys to.
Was that on the agenda for tonight? It's been advertised, right, public?
What I had on there was we were just considering ARPA funds.
Okay.
And
well,
I just wanna say this, I mean, whether, you know, it's a big difference, right? I mean, in price for buying all the equipment or buying, you know, the chipper. And so, you know, in talking with Kevin, this contract, interlocal agreement with Dutchess County allows us for $410,000 to get our program off the ground and get out there. It allows those guys to start working with this.
Yeah, because
And then, keep in mind, it's a one-year
It
agreement.
has been.
So I can't appropriate, you can't tell them they can
You know,
appropriate.
it's 1 year, it's not, we're not signing a
And this one's been
agreement.
tabled several times, but it
Yes.
was,
To do
yes.
cost
We can vote
savings in
tonight.
our county, but it is a way for us to only spend $450,000 to get the program up and going.
One question, did he find money in the county that he can buy through the county highway, if he bought all the equipment?
Well, here's the thing though, John, he's got other needs for equipment.
He's got
I mean, so we have funds here to spend $400,000, get that program off the ground, and then look at some of these other needs that we have on this paper.
One question I had on the interlocal, and I talked to Randy about it, and, I went back and watched that video that night. The way Zach explains it is, if we buy this $410,000 piece of equipment, we enter into this agreement, and we decide a year from now, we don't wanna do that agreement, does that or does that not trigger Jefferson County to be able to purchase that equipment? Or are we allowed to say, we wanna buy the rest of it and do our own thing 26, 27?
if we get out, they have the first opportunity to buy it.
If we decide to sell
It's a
If
right
you
of
wanna
first
sell it, or
refusal, they can't
they
take
do
us.
no matter what.
it. No, only if we decide to sell.
But if we decide to keep it, then we
get
just say we come back and we
Yeah.
wanna do our own thing, and we're
It's first rights of
So the
refusal.
contract is just good for a year.
Yeah.
So within the first year, you're gonna do this, and then you said, hey, I don't like the agreement, don't like what's going on, we wanna spend another $300,000 on the agreement.
It's 30
we
days,
can
I
do
think
that.
so.
As long as you don't wanna sell the
So
machine.
that's
Yeah.
30 days
Yeah.
of what you got to tell them that you wanna get out of it, is what it is.
You have a 30-day
And they
termination
have
clause
that
at any
flexibility
time.
as well?
Correct.
Well, that's
You
fine.
know, I mean, so it's a two-way.
And I think
you know,
I'm the
street.
one of the most hard-nosed on this chip seal because
No,
frankly,
you haven't.
Huh?
No, you
No,
haven't.
I haven't. But in looking at all of it together, I would much rather do the interlocal and the 410 than to do the big amount, in my opinion. Now, I'd rather not do any of it,
We can-
but that's not my decision.
Well, and I don't think we have that
Huh?
option. We don't really have that option to not do any of it. I mean,
But
From a
I'm saying,
council
if it was up to me,
Sure.
I would, but it's not. But if we have the option of doing the interlocal, what you explained to me last week, where we can use their equipment, they can use our equipment, it seems like a very, very good deal to me. A good, camaraderie, working together as the two communities. So I don't have a problem with voting for the interlocal if we're doing the 410. I don't wanna do the big amount. Does that make sense?
And I think they're not
both of those
asking for
together
that.
are
They're
a
not
fit.
asking.
We're not asking for all of it.
Randy only said the big number in case if you
Right, but
didn't
I'm
wanna
saying,
do
I
this,
think
then
that's
that's
a
the
good-
option
We,
we have.
we need you to decide on the interlocal, so we can know what we have to do
Right, and
next.
I think the interlocal
So,
is a good idea.
anybody else have comments on
I
the,
may be wrong, but I
interlocal.
think it is.
We did
Agreement.
already, advertise and have a public hearing on the interlocal, so that you guys are free to vote on both the interlocal tonight as well as the ordinance appropriating those ARP funds if you choose to do the interlocal.
if no other discussion, I would call for a motion to accept the interlocal agreement with Jefferson County.
I'll make a
I'll
motion.
make that motion.
It doesn't matter.
John Miller with the motion to accept. You want a second? Lindy with the second on that. Any questions or comments from council members?
To accept the interlocal,
Correct.
yes.
So all in favor of accepting the interlocal agreement? Same sign for opposed. 4-3.
Guys, I told you I don't know because I talked to the people I represent, they asked me not to vote for it, so that's why I didn't vote for it.
So you want to do an ordinance to appropriate the 410 next for the
It was
chip?
the third one,
We're going
got
to
Mike
chip.
Collins.
I get it.
That's the problem.
I understand, but I'm just telling you.
So less
what I
people
stand.
like
was in
Or Colin might be mad at me, but I just, I
Yes.
knew what I was asking.
Or no, they're, yeah, you know what I mean. Correct.
Those three were the ones, okay.
And work with another.
It's,
So-
it's his district, so he's
Right.
talking,
Keep in mind their council.
he still has to listen to his constituents in his district, so that's what he's talking about.
So next up would be the request from the
It's his
commissioners.
people.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
John, I realize your standpoint, and I was gonna keep my mouth shut, but I gotta tell you this, okay? I understand that you got people who comes out there at your barn and says, you know, they don't want chip seal.
No, that's not what they said, they didn't want any local agreement.
Okay, but the thing about, but you've also said they didn't want chip seal before. And that's, the issue is, and this is the issue that we have been fighting for 4 years now. Not all with you, but for
Okay.
4 years now.
Back up a second too, though, I need to say something too, did you not have chip seal equipment when you guys first got into office? And you sold it,
We had a,
Locked up.
that could have been fixed?
no,
Grover Stacy, did you talk to him about it?
Okay, let's,
Hang on.
let's
I never,
just,
I'm not talking.
besides that, here's the issue.
are we
The
ready
issue
to,
is,
to appropriate
Are we ready to
funds?
move on?
All right, hang on.
Hold on.
Hang on.
the issue is, it's up to the commissioners to decide how we're gonna fix the roads. It's never been up to the council to decide how we're gonna fix the roads.
Well, it's his right to vote,
Well, I think,
no.
yeah,
let the
that's
vote.
right. He has that
That's
right.
fine.
I'm
Just-
fine with it.
So, next
It got
up,
passed.
next
He has
up
right to vote
would
no.
be an ordinance 2024-71. It's a request from the commissioners to use the ARPA money to purchase it's called chip seal equipment on here, but it's actually
A
the
chipper.
chipper
spreader.
machine or chip spreader machine that would then be entered into that interlocal agreement. The total amount of the request is $410,000. I would entertain a motion to
Wait a
accept.
minute, 1 second. And Kevin, we're sure that number has not changed. Can you confirm that for me, right?
Well, it can't change.
It can't change.
It can't
Well,
change.
Re-advertise
It
it, yeah.
can't change.
You're right, but
If
We
it
don't
does, he's
have
gonna
time
have to
to
chip in
change
the
it,
rest.
You're right, you're
We
right.
don't have
That's a
time to
kinda
change
not
it, so
to
it's what it
exceed
is.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
You're right, you're right.
So I would,
think if I can work out a deal with Southeastern Equipment, if you come up with that money, I would be highly surprised if there was anything other than that.
Okay.
But I'll need to see that on paper,
what is it?
how much it is and what this piece of equipment is.
Okay. I mean, we can see it.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll make it public,
been-
right?
Have you not, you've turned it into them, ain't you?
Yes,
So it
We
hasn't
have,
changed.
At one point, we've seen it, and
We
he's
have
saying he
seen it.
can negotiate the same price as what was shown to us. But I'm sure,
All I've seen is 410. I haven't seen any piece of equipment, I haven't seen any numbers, I haven't seen any contract, I haven't seen nothing. They could buy a motorcycle, like, well, I
no, they
know.
can't.
No, they
Not.
No, they
can't.
cannot, that's not the way it
Nice.
I
works.
gotta
They-
see it on paper.
They cannot, the interlocal specifically says what piece
I
of
would
it.
like to make a motion, I'm sorry.
No, you're
Heather.
fine.
I would like to make a motion to accept whatever you said that you were gonna do.
okay, motion on the table to
Ordinance.
accept the
Ordinance.
ordinance 71 for the interlocal agreement with Jefferson County to include the chip seal equipment for $410,000. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Diane with the second. Any questions or comments at this point from the council? No. All in favor of purchasing the chipper? All opposed, same sign. 6-1.
Don't call him TBA.
Yes.
It's a heck out of 700,000.
Yeah.
That's a
Gillespie
Eric
voted
Gillespie, the nay.
So
All right.
we got
Right.
All right. So we got that done.
All right, thanks.
Okay, now we're at 694, 487.
Hang on, guys. Mike's trying to hear. Hold on one second.
Thank you, guys.
The nays, the 3 nays need to sign on this side of the interlocal and that.
And what is the city thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. What was the-
Got 27 cents. What do you want to do with it?
694,000.
Hey, Kevin,
I'd like to ask
you will
the
have
commissioners
to,
try to use some of that for some of our local.
tomorrow, no, you're off tomorrow. Monday,
And then
You make a phone
you'll
call.
have to get us into contract with this guy as absolutely as fast as possible, because
I think the purchase.
It has to
we have
be.
to have a purchase agreement before the end of the year.
Yeah.
And if you need something from me on it, let me know. I'll do it.
Can we just get through this, please?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
You guys want to wait on Mike for a minute? That's fine. So what's the total left? Do we have that?
694, 487, 21, right there. $694,487.21.
694, 487.
Yep.
21, and 21 cents, don't forget the 21 cents.
I told you we had 20
I think
something
Zach
cents.
needs to ask Bo if it's okay to give everybody at this table a bonus.
So what we just talked about, the 50,000.
Wait a minute, are we recessed, are we still on video?
Camera's on.
Okay.
Be on the best, on the best, guys.
Is there something that we want to do besides what's on here? They would just have to draft up a resolution for that.
But you wanna make sure you have the
We'd have
consensus to pass it
agree to
through, cause we don't wanna go through this whole, you guys do the resolution, advertise it, and then it gets to the table, and then we don't have a vote to do it. And I'm meaning not the whole.
I'd like to respectfully request that the commissioners consider some of our local things for this way, like the fairgrounds request, because that fairground should be used every weekend, and it would bring more money into our community.
We're going,
I'm just respectfully requesting.
They need to, it can't be a position where.
Right.
I'm not going, I'll be
I know. Well, we're gonna have a recess.
Randy.
You wanna,
Should I click it or?
yeah, just,
Click it or ticket.
But where I'm getting with that is that the Board of Commissioners did not know that we had the money that we have now to spend, so there's a lot of projects and a lot of things that aren't on this request list. Cause this is a request list that came in, some of these, two of them were in March, the rest of them are in October. There are other things out there that, we've been communicated with and everything else that could be a possibility for some money, and that's where I was telling Zach is that, we can discuss the ones we know here, but as far as, and I don't want to give anybody any false hope on some of these people that do have money here, or requests, I guess, but where I'm getting at is that we didn't realize that we had the money now that we have, and there could be some additional that we've talked about in our meetings and stuff that would have been an option if we had the money, but now we don't, now we do have the money, we didn't, so they're not on this list.
Are you asking to meet again so that
No,
you can
what-
have a?
no.
What I'm
idea?
saying is if we can, and what JR brought up was a good idea, is that number the ones we have here, discuss them kind of, everybody knows what they are.
By
and-
number, discuss
and
it
it's-
by number.
And to get an idea, would somebody be all
For
right
or
with that or
against
not for that? And then on our meeting Wednesday, we would write, resolutions for either these or some additional that we would
Well, I've
come
asked-
up with.
I've asked Jennifer to over-advertise across different funds, that way the advertising issue is taken care of no matter what happens and what we decide to vote on or not vote on, what they decide to send us.
And that's,
Does that make sense?
One thing before we get started, JD,
You're not shaking your heads down there.
JD was he showed up to give our entire group here an update on money that we used up, to help the parks in Austin. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't want you to go anywhere else.
I don't want to be in front of you, I'm afraid somebody's gonna shoot you.
That might be a good possibility.
The 85,000 you took out of opioid for the park in what is known as Spicertown. I want to give you an update. We have parking lots done. 3/4 of the fencing is done, the rest of it won't be done until it's complete. We've got an accepted, signed contract for the bathroom / shelter house and basketball court. Tonight, we did a contract accepted to set playground equipment. Playground equipment is gonna get started December 1. We hope to have that done before bad weather. We've been told, depending on schedule and whatever, that concrete work and shelter house bathroom, which is together with the basketball court, hopefully will get started before Thanksgiving, depending on weather.
Good deal.
So we're hoping. The only thing that we possibly could have left to do in the springtime would be all your safety mulch around your playground equipment. You gotta put up the border, which we've got. Then put down that cushion, rubberized mulch is what it is. And then also we'll have to do some touch-up painting on the equipment and then fencing. So we're hoping come at least no later than the late spring, we're complete.
Sounds good. Great.
And I know it's been a while, but I just wanna kinda keep you in the loop.
The basketball courts,
It's not going as fast as we thought it would, because when we put for advertised for bids and everything, and boom, we got excellent bids and then other jobs come before that. But anyway, it's still going a whole lot faster than our DNR grant that we got from Broadway Park, which is running into 3 years now.
the
But
basketball,
they have started on it. It is, the completion date on that is July 25th. Temple and Temple's doing the work. What they've got done so far is pickleball court, skate, park, sidewalks are in, splash pad is ready to be poured, but won't be done until springtime. Their TNT is saying weather holds, not a real bad spring. They're gonna be done with that project in March, latest. So hopefully this summer, there's gonna be a whole lot more at Broadway Park for everybody. When you come up for Little League or whatever, you'll see it. Hopefully it's done by then, or at least most of it will be. And then the one out in Spicertown, which has been on a 5-year plan for 20+ years. Thanks to you guys, now it will be done.
Are you guys gonna have like a grand opening for that?
Yes, and everybody will be invited.
Thank you.
Not just the ones that, I mean, there's a list this long of, the reason why it got done.
Sounds good.
We got City of Austin, everything they did, redevelopment, and I mean, it could go on forever. Plus, we've had a couple of volunteers come in and do things, so, yeah.
just out of curiosity, because it doesn't really matter, I'm just curious. But the ball court, is it concrete or asphalt?
It will be concrete. It's a true half court. To be honest with you, we couldn't get anybody to give you a reasonable bid for asphalt for such a small area.
Yeah.
And the bid we did get wasn't really official. It was a number about this much. concrete still came in quite a bit less,
Yeah,
quite a bit less. So,
it'd probably be smoother too.
I would say don't be out there when it's raining, cause you're probably gonna slip and bust your butt, but anyway. I don't think any of you guys are gonna play on it anyway, so there you go.
Well, I'll probably be down fine.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay. You couldn't play with you.
Is it breakaway rims?
I'll be down there laughing at him.
Ball, I can hang on, there's gonna be no chairs to get underneath it and hang on.
Has Ishmael got any more done on the Rainbow Bridge?
The pieces are there, and that's all I'm gonna say.
Well, you know the one in North Carolina, the hurricane, so we would be the only one in Scott counties or Austin's would be the only one in several states.
The pieces are there, they need to be installed, and what we're hoping is, we had such difficulty getting contractors for the project at Broadway Park, because they're all building houses, local guys. What we're hoping now that we've got a couple doing the Spicer Town Park, we can get them to do that.
Maybe have a work day and get some people to come up, because I know a lot of people were interested in it, so.
Yeah.
It'll be a nice little touristy spot, it really will.
There's always people interested.
The one in North Carolina brought people from all around, so.
I personally plan on having that done, I would certainly hope so. But anyway, just.
Thanks for driving that, I know.
Yes, sir.
So are you,
When we get
are
closer to
you saying
what's
that we
done,
can appropriate
I plan on coming back and stuff.
on like equipment lines or?
Thank you.
I mean,
I
I
appreciate
don't
it.
quite understand the whole,
Thanks.
that's why.
Thank you.
Over advertise across the lines that way, because we have to have an advertisement 10 days before the public hearing on an appropriation. So Zach and I were talking about taking all that, you know,
Thanks, Jay.
we could appropriate, you know, 1.5 million or whatever we have left, 694 to this fund, this line, this fund, this line, this fund. So that way, no matter how it comes, it's
Push that
advertised
black
already
button.
and.
But it doesn't have to be specific to an organization or
right.
to a purchase.
No, because it's going directly out of APRA funds and, well, you do have to say who you're
Push it.
appropriating to,
Yeah.
right? I
That's
mean,
it.
when you do the additional
But is that-
appropriation, advertise it, it has to
but
say
is
who it's
that-
going to.
That makes sense.
Because it would go ARPA to, you know, 4-H Fairgrounds, just for an example. So you have to advertise that, but we're gonna advertise everything across the lines just in case.
You mean
I know it's
advertise-
late and we probably wanna, everybody wants to get
Advertise
out.
to total the 600 and make sure we.
No, I advertise 600 multiple times across different
Oh, I
lines, so
see.
that way, I mean, we're never go over, we know that that's the limit.
I gotcha.
But that would gives them some cushion to different projects, but what I'm telling them is, you do have to be sort of specific, because we have to say who it's being appropriated to. It's not being appropriated within our own budget, so it has to say who it's being appropriated to.
It'd be a little bit unfair, but you could actually advertise for everything on here and then pick and choose what you're
Well,
going
he's
to
saying
do.
there's gonna have
But there
additional.
could be additional, because we didn't know we were having this.
That's what I'm saying, yeah, and if you knew the additional or
We
something, if you
don't.
do that next
And that's
Wednesday
what I
night.
said. I mean, we can discuss these 6
Well, let's
and,
do that.
and then we
See
can,
where we're
on
at.
our meeting on Wednesday night, we'll write the resolutions as well.
Which even at that, if you,
If I may, Mr. Jones, what you could do also is, you know, when the commissioners meet and get some ideas together, maybe Mr. Jones could call Mr. Ward as president, and we could sort of go down the line to make sure we have consensus that way.
I think that's
I
fine.
just don't wanna waste
We can't waste any time.
the time and not know what's going on. So let's talk about these ones we have here,
We're out of
maybe.
time, so we
Yeah.
can't waste it, yeah.
All right,
Talk about what we got.
let's go to number 1 here. Everybody sees it on their list. And I'm sorry out here if you don't see it on your list, cause you don't have it. But I, you know, for the sake of not giving someone false hopes, we're gonna leave it anonymous right now. And I will say on Wednesday night at our meeting, we will not make it anonymous anymore. We will name names, so. The first one, without, I don't know how you really get into this, but once you start talking.
Just announce the total, go on.
I think we know, we've all heard
Well,
kinda what
okay,
it is.
everybody sees it, so the amount they're wanting is $80,000. And everybody can see it. Has anybody got a yes, no?
If we could up it, I wouldn't mind,
Yeah.
just to give them, because I think they're too cheap for what they're doing.
Okay, so I guess let's not look lock in a number, or we can, but if somebody wants to do more, let's just say
We're approving.
I'm good with it, or I'm not good with it, so.
Good.
I'm good with it.
Good.
The whole council's good with that one, it seems
Yes,
like,
I
Mr.
think
Jones.
it's a great idea.
Okay, all right, the second one, same thing.
Yes, yes.
Yes, I believe. Yes,
So everybody,
Yeah.
Eric, Shawnee?
You good with number 2? You good
Alright.
with that one, Lindy? Yep.
it's right over
I
here.
don't care if it's good.
What actually is this one, Mike?
Well,
This is the lady that came and talked to us a while back.
What this
I'm-
is.
I'm gonna tell you that I'm not for this, and I'm gonna tell you why. I mean, this is a group that I think they're coming to the wrong people. I think they need to be going to the schools and asking them to do this project instead of coming to the Board of Commissioners.
Or the State Department of Health. too, would be
Yeah.
good. They have lots of
But-
grants too.
They're asking us to do something that's not in our forte. I mean,
That's why I'm asking. That's why
I mean, we can't follow it up and keep it up either.
That's the concern, what's the longevity, how do we continue?
So
Sorry.
to me, I'm a no on that. I mean,
And for me, I think we all agree it's an excellent program.
It is.
It
It
would be a
is.
great opportunity, but it's not sustainable, and
But it's-
that's where I would definitely back
but it's
your
also-
decision. I would back
But
your
it's also
decision.
not in our,
Yeah, our realm of
wheelhouse.
things to
If
do.
you can take that money and spread it to other organizations that are sustainable, it's a better use of those
That's
funds,
correct.
in my opinion.
So I think we could scratch number
I'd
3.
say that's good. All right, the next one's one we discussed earlier. I think it's something that the county's gonna have to pay for one way or the other. This might be an easier, I like to say it's a Christmas list, and what, if we had the money, what would we spend it on? And this is one that we're not gonna take money out of the general fund to pay for this, or take it out of the jail, special lit, or another fund.
Right.
So I would be in favor of making
And they
that
said it's something that
purchase.
would last 10 years plus.
Well, it's a
probably.
necessity. I mean, we
Yeah.
could be in OSHA trouble with something
Not
that
being able to
happens.
get safety
It's
to
gonna
them.
hit us.
And plus, we're also protecting our own people, so.
Right, well, and what I would say is, we have an obligation to provide that service, so we
We're
want
paying
to make
for it
sure.
one way or the other. This is a way to pay for it.
Yeah.
I would support that one.
So, is everybody good?
Good with that one.
Eric,
All right.
You good with that one? Yep.
The
I'm sorry,
next
what
one,
was that, Eric?
he
He
said
said
yes.
What's the school's take on this part?
well,
I,
I'm gonna go back to, and I'll just tell it, cause it don't matter about this one, but,
Mike's over
whether
there.
he gets it or he doesn't get it. But the issue is that when we started the SOR program, Kenny was one of them, and I was one of them that wrote it all out, figured it all out. I had injected buying 3 cars at the beginning, and the school would help pay for the cars. When it got signed a year later, I didn't realize, I didn't sign it, the president of the board signed it, the cars weren't involved.
Weren't in
So when the new contract came up in January, in December, I was saying, well, we need 3 new cars, and they said, well, it's not in the contract. Well, after looking at the contract, it was not placed in the contract. So somewhere between approving it and the contract getting signed, 3 cars were taken out of the contract. I'm not saying the school would not in the future, because we've talked about it. They said, we're not against buying cars.
so
We're just not in there.
before you guys have to say what you would do on this, I don't wanna put you in that position. I would say that during budget time, we had a conversation with the sheriff about these particular vehicles. And I said that, or we as a board, I'm not gonna say I, but we as a board came up with the idea that we would support, if he were to buy one out of commissary, the school were to buy one, the county would buy one. If the school at that time didn't have the funding for it, I know they had some issues, then that would only put the requirement of 1 vehicle in the county. And we have a lot that have been paid off over there, so I think that would be a fair move with both him putting in money, the county putting in money, and the school until we can get the contract fixed.
Well, you're not gonna get the school to
So,
pay anything right now. So.
right.
My question would be, why we're not handing down vehicles, because these do not have to be pursuit vehicles.
That's correct, but in the intent, and I'm not wasn't trying to do a shell game or anything,
No.
but if we bought 3 cars for the SORs, yes, those 3 cars would go to a road deputy, the road deputy's car would come to the SORs. It wasn't necessarily SOR cars, it was cars that they were going to hand to us so that we could, supply a service to them, and we could use the newer cars for road deputies. I mean, that was written all out, but my question here is, I just did, and I don't know what kind of cars we're talking about, or trucks or whatever, but what'd you pay for your Tahoe?
46.
46? At 45,000 apiece for 3 of them, that's 135,000.
He's
I
saying
don't know
they're,
where
he's saying
180,
they're
but that's fully
20
fitted.
for outfittings, what he told us.
But I think,
Fully outfitted, I'm probably, radios, lights and everything, I'm probably around 55 to 56.
Yeah. But still at
I think he said
56.
20,000 to fit, put the lights and everything on.
and I'm not against that, I don't have a problem, we can
168.
overdo that one and come back and say, take it out or
How many
whatever.
cars do we have out there?
A bunch.
We just funded
Hey,
3
to
of
take
them.
my council hat
ARP,
off,
right?
throw on a civilian hat for just a moment. I think the SRO vehicles would need to be pursuit rated just because
yeah.
we've asked them to work 3 months as a police officer, or if they were to get into something, I would hate to, you guys to agree to purchase, you know, a Chevy Malibu and they're out there chasing somebody down.
We're not doing that,
So-
I mean, they were always supposed to be, used when they're not in the school, so I wouldn't be for that, so.
Anyway,
What's everybody's thoughts
back
on
to
number,
council.
what's everybody's thoughts on number 8 or 5?
President's.
What's everybody's thought on number 5?
Mine personally, I think we've paid for 6 cars this year. I think that,
I'm getting a no, a no.
I mean, I would like to see that amount of money used somewhere else if you could.
Okay, I don't think we would.
I'm not
have
gonna
a
die on a vine here for 3 cars, so.
Right.
The next one is an
I'm actually
IT,
with the council on
the IT. What'd you say?
that. No, you heard me.
He fell harder than I thought a while ago.
I just think
He
we've
fell.
got plenty of cars to hand
You
down.
missed it.
I missed it.
The number 6 I would support. I think Andrew does a great job, needs whatever he can get.
That upgrades some software within the county, so.
Was it?
Everybody-
I thought this was the doors.
Thoughts?
Yeah.
Huh?
Eric.
That was the doors.
No.
Security, you need security.
John Miller
I
has
don't
a
know
question
exactly what
for
it
you.
is,
Thank
but
you.
it's.
John
That gives you about
I
$1
thought it
million.
was software.
John,
that come
John
back, so.
Miller.
Yes, John.
No, on the number 1, with 80,000, that's what they're advertised. Is there any way they can change their advertisement and get more money?
This is an advertising, this is an ask.
This is an ask.
Yeah,
Okay.
so when we advertise, we're gonna advertise above and beyond, and then they will decide
How much funding?
Gives
for
us
each
some
one.
leeway.
This is just so that they know going in.
Because in my opinion, I've been down there for the last 15 years, and if anybody needs money, they need money,
Yeah.
especially.
Well,
they gotta do that.
they're one of the biggest draws
Exactly.
to Scott County,
Yeah.
and yeah, I mean,
I mean, just saying that loud.
Yeah.
they do several things down there
All year
throughout,
long,
actually,
races
sometimes,
and all kinds
there's
of
been some years they didn't.
But this has been a good fair board. They got a good fair board.
Well, and I
They
think,
do other
A
organizations.
number 1 board.
I think
It's a-
the
it's a
number
good number
1
one board.
request would even open up more doors for more things
Yeah.
to the whole county, is
Oh, yeah.
what it was described to us.
So, that's all that's on our list right now. We're gonna have, we'll have a meeting on Wednesday, and out of that meeting, we'll come up with some other items. And I guess I'm gonna throw it out here.
Well,
If
what-
somebody has a suggestion for some,
You guys,
Yes.
hey, guys,
if you guys have any suggestions before Wednesday next week,
Yes.
reach out to one of us, send us an email, send us a text, send us whatever, and say, hey, what about this? We'll take it under consideration, and then we'll try to come up, well, we will come up with spending the rest of the money. I'll reach out to you and give you the list and the amounts, and if you can reach out to your people and
Make
say,
sure we're-
we agree, we don't, whatever, so we can go back and forth, so.
Well, it looks like you got 4 things about
I
$1
think
million
the first two
already, you
items,
agree on.
No, you can't have any more money.
Now, that's got a question. If you find everything there at that dollar amount, what's your balance?
give me 1 second.
492.
So another 600 or 700 minutes.
No.
80,
200,000.
no.
How much?
Number 6, I'm estimating high, but that would be 493,000, cause I took it to 18. instead of 1793, so
After the chip
493.
seal, we have 694, 487.
No, the chip seal was already,
It was already in
Yeah,
there.
she
That was already
said-
out.
She said after the chip.
After the chip seal, we had 694, 487.
Oh, I forgot that.
What?
Right?
No,
Yeah.
Yes, we had
yeah.
1.7 minus
$200,000
City Hall's
is what I see,
1.1 minus the 410 leaves us with
It's really over
694.
400 for renovations, so you're,
We're taking out the renovations.
so we're starting with 1,100,000.
If mine's right, Mike, that's what you
And
got.
you're subtracting out the chip and seal, which leaves you with 694 to
10,000.
487.
If you took that one, that was
So
there for
81,
renovations.
Right.
But if you
Me too.
take that away.
about $200,000.
It leaves you with,
Like 201,000.
Yeah, that's what I got.
That's what I got.
487.
201,
So you got any other
577,
projects you
that's what I got. Is that right? That's what I got.
Well, I'm sure you will before you get to the door.
If we paid for all of those,
That's what would be left.
that would be left.
All right.
Which is that
Don't you forget my 20 cents, Greg.
I hate math. I went to law school. but I was told
So
I don't know.
anyway,
We got a plan. We got a plan.
We got a
I
plan.
got a question.
If you guys will come up and send Greg, me, or Randy a message about any project you're thinking about, before next Wednesday, we'll consider it on Wednesday, and then we'll vote and create resolutions for every one of these items that we plan on doing, so we can get it advertised and get it spent, and hopefully our community is better for it, so.
So Greg,
You had it, what was that number, 201?
it's 201.
201, 500 roughly.
That's a rough number.
That's if we.
Yes.
It's a rough number.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn on the commissioner's side.
I'll make that motion.
Randy makes a motion, Greg.
I'll second.
Greg seconds it, I'll make that unanimous.
I entertain a motion on the council side. Collins with Miller in a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Leave
And I want to
anyway.
appreciate, again, the context and the conversation.